need to be moving on because we have to focus on a very important story. WikiLeaks, viewers, has uncovered an alleged massive funding operation by USAID and Soros ecosystem to build a particular type of narrative in India. WikiLeaks says international media NGO Internews Network receives $474 million from USAID and Soros ecosystem. Internews Network works under the guise of journalistic development undertaken from a shell company based in the United States. Internews Network has an India link, which is an alleged media literacy program. This Indian arm has on its board some journalists, activists known only to promote a one-sided anti-India narrative. The history of Internews traces back to funding from Ford Foundation, George Soros and Umidyar Network. All of them, viewers, are not fans of our country's rise. Internews Network pressures advertisers to direct funds only to approved news sources, disadvantaging other platforms. All of this, viewers, is available. Go see it on WikiLeaks. You'll read the story, you'll read the names of those who are getting the funds. Musk's aide and one-time US State Department official Mike Benz has also claimed that USAID and Soros network is involved in regime change. In fact, on India's doorstep, Mike Benz has come out and he has said, and let me quote him, and he said this to Tucker Carlson on his show, and I quote, "Let's say it is vital to US interest to build a military base in Bangladesh to counter China, but the Bangladeshi Prime Minister refuses. Our foreign policy planners then decide that regime change is necessary. All options to destabilize the country were taken," unquote. And he goes into an extensive detail on how it was done by, viewers, first trying to pick at the seams in society, build constituencies amongst minorities, arm them with money, with all sorts of disinformation, rile them up, and then get them going. That's how it was done. Alarmed by these exposés and convinced that the Bangladesh toolkit has already been deployed in India, BJP MP Nishikant Dubey raised the issue in Parliament seeking a probe. Listen in, viewers. Okay. Regime change echoed in Sansad with the BJP MP Nishikant Dubey saying, and I quote, "Need for centre to probe organizations funded by USAID in India. Most such outfits have worked to create unrest in the country and had links with the Congress party," unquote. Late last month, the Prime Minister himself hinted that he was aware of the foreign hand that is working behind the scenes to destabilize India. Sample this from the Prime Minister, viewers. He said, "Perhaps this is the first session of Parliament since 2014 when there has been no effort from overseas to spark a fire a day or two before its inauguration," unquote. So even he's on it. I want to open this up. Sanju Verma, why do you believe that WikiLeaks has thrown up stuff that we need to really worry about? What is this network that the BJP wants investigated that it links to the Congress party? Explain.
You know, Rahul, first and foremost, let's get this very clear. Forget about former US State Department head honcho Mike Benz on Tucker Carlson's show, clearly calling out the bluff of USAID. Forget also for the time being what Nishikant Dubey said. You know, let's be very clear about one thing, that for the longest time, you know, be it Pegasus, be it Rafale, be it tarnishing India's image at the height of the COVID second wave, or for that matter, even the Ram Mandir Pran Pratishtha, or for that matter, more importantly, the abrogation of Article 370. There have been a couple of organizations which have time and again taken an anti-India stance, so much so that instead of calling POK, they talk about Indian-occupied Kashmir. And at the forefront of this anti-India narrative has been an outfit called OCCRP. OCCRP has been funded for the longest time. It's out in the public domain. A basic Google search will tell you that OCCRP is funded by Open Society Foundation. OCCRP is funded by Rockefeller Foundation. OCCRP is funded by the Omidyar Network. OCCRP is funded by Ford Foundation. And OCCRP has been taking an anti-India stance, and Rahul Gandhi basically on the floor of Parliament has been working as a brand ambassador of OCCRP. OCCRP ne bola that Pegasus has been used to spy on opposition. Rahul Gandhi peddles that line in Parliament. OCCRP says that, you know, more than 40 million people, that is 4 crore people, died during COVID. And Rahul Gandhi comes and spews that gibberish in Parliament. But the most important point, very quickly, without being verbose, there is an entity called Global Knowledge Initiative, GKI, which is founded by Sam Pitroda along with 2 other people, Nina Fedorov and Sarah Farley. Nina Fedorov and Sarah Farley have been associated with Rockefeller Trust for the longest time, and GKI, Sam Pitroda's NGO, so-called NGO, is funded by USAID. Don't forget that USAID also runs a literacy program called Factshala, and Factshala runs a Factshala ambassador program which has on its payrolls the likes of Ritu Kapoor of Quint, the likes of Shekhar Gupta of Print, and the likes of Faith D'Souza of Beetroot News. And all these people, you don't need to have an IQ of more than 50 to realize, have been peddling not only an anti-Modi stance on various occasions, but sometimes bordering on an anti-India stance. Then you have something called the Sambhavna Institute of Public Policy and the Kumud Bhushan Education Trust. Sambhavna Institute of Public Policy and Kumud Bhushan Education Trust are run by Prashant Bhushan, the man who has seen nothing going right with India since 2014, since Modi became the Prime Minister. And don't forget that USAID has funded Rajiv Gandhi Foundation, USAID has funded Rajiv Gandhi Trust, USAID has also funded Vijay Mahajan, the CEO of Rajiv Gandhi Foundation. And last but not the least, something which not many people are talking of. Today, Gaurav Gogoi is the deputy leader of opposition. And guess what? Gaurav Gogoi's wife, Elizabeth Cole Byrne, has previously worked with the ISI in Islamabad. Her supervisor was a man called Ali Taqir Sheikh, an advisor to Pakistan's Planning Commission.
Okay, of course, he's not here to answer this. It would be only fair if he were here to answer this. Maybe you can tweet this to him, but I can't. Yes, well, I can't take that on board. As you understand, Ms. Sanju Verma, please, there are certain important red lines that I can't sort of cross. So I'll put that out. Hopefully that is something that you can tweet to him and you can get clarifications, but I cannot underscore that at all. But I want to just bring in Sushant Sareen here. Sushant Sareen, look, it may not be illegal, right? It may not be illegal. USAID can fund whoever they want to. They can create an ecosystem and a narrative and this, that, the other. But what I actually balk at is then these individuals, some of whom, Sanju Verma has sort of named, these individuals give lessons on independent journalism and being completely, money is leverage. That's what everyone says, isn't it? Oh, you're getting ads from Modi, so that means you must have bent. You get ads from AAP, so you must be crawling. And you know how it goes. So, I mean, all this sort of stuff that comes out from these very familiar quarters, is it all sort of somehow tinctured with certain prejudices, maybe leveraged by somebody who doesn't quite want this country to do fantastically well? That's why the Prime Minister says foreign hand constantly.
So Rahul, one, I think the old adage coming from America, follow the money, I think that's critical in all of this. And clearly, Rahul, you're not that naive that if somebody was taking the money, he would not be pontificating and sermonizing the way some of these people you've named do. So, if they were going to actually come out with the truth, then clearly, what's the point of giving them the money? So that's not going to happen. But look, I have a feeling that perhaps this was, at its heart, it was not an anti-India operation. It was a regime change operation. Because we see a lot of this happening from around 2014 onwards. Suddenly, the entire media narrative in the Western media is one-sided.
Yeah.
That Modi is a fascist, Modi is Hitler, Modi is Mussolini, Modi is this, Modi is that, there's religious persecution in India. Nobody can name a single Indian Muslim who has left India out of religious persecution. In fact, you have Bangladeshis streaming into India because they find greater opportunity out here than they find in their own country. Okay. So there are people who have also sought refuge in India rather than running away from India. There might have been some economic migrants who've gone out of India, but nobody has gone because there was political or religious persecution in India. And yet the international narrative was one-sided. And one often wondered why this was happening. And very clearly, it was targeted not so much against India as such, India in the sense that perhaps, some of these people wanted India to be this nice, cute kind of a country which follows their orders, takes directions from them, follows everything they do, is
No, I
obsequious
like
to
the
them.
fact that you're drawing that distinction. That's an important distinction.
India.
Yeah, that's an important, that regime
so I think-
change. You want a pliable
Rahul,
puppet.
one second.
Yeah,
Just quickly.
yeah.
Because, if you look at it from the governmental level,
Yes.
whether it was the United States or whether it was many of the other European countries which have been involved in these kind of operations, they had very good relations government to government.
Yeah.
But at a political level, they were trying to orchestrate, interfere, meddle in they meddled in the elections.
I mean, you can be someone's
They
good
used
friend.
media.
You could be on the face of it someone's friend, but not want their best interests. I mean, that that happens. So, but that means that you're subverting a mandate. Actually, that actually is right. Yeah. So, Dr.
That was the whole
Sumansi Raman, subversion of a mandate. Yeah.
Allow me one more point.
Yeah.
The other thing which you have to look at is the kind of agitations which took place.
Yes.
A nuclear plant is being built. It is required. A copper smelter has to be built. It is required. Yeah. It is required to give our industry an edge. It is
no. So let me bring him in. I get the point.
An edge, and there are these protests that take place.
Absolutely. So regime change has been sort of now, there is a definite, I mean, you've had Mike Benz come out, Dr. Raman, and talk about regime change. So, I mean, it's all probable that it's happening here too. The Prime Minister, you shouldn't sort of be alarmist and say, oh, he's being, loose with the facts. He's only quoting what is very probable.
Okay. Rahul, since this is a 4 against 1 debate, I trust that you will give me a little bit of time, at least a fraction of the time that the other panelists have got. Now, the first part, which I don't think most people on this debate seem to have understood, is that the USAID is part of the executive branch of the United States government. So if you are, it may be an independent body, quote unquote, but it comes under the executive branch, except that the president has limited powers over the USAID. He cannot fire its chief just like that and so on. The bottom line is very clear. When we say USAID gave money which was used for destabilizing India or Bangladesh or any other country, effectively, we are basically saying the US government gave money to people or organizations to destabilize India. Why don't we have the guts to own up and then say that? Instead of saying USAID has become...
No, who doesn't have the guts? I am saying it's one and the same thing as far as I'm concerned. So I'm sure he will. I'm sure he will. But no, hang on. Just a minute. All this news, viewers, there's a very important caveat. No, 1 second.
Yes.
It's not Rahul Shivshankar who's making these claims. It is the DOGE department. It's Musk.
No, 1 second. You want to believe
1 second,
everything
Doctor.
that Donald Trump says.
Doctor, I am not believing. Donald Trump has to convince his own people that USAID. Dr. Raman, please. Dr. Raman, if Mr. Modi tomorrow decides to, shut down an important vertical. One second. How can? Hang on, just a minute. And it turns out that he was using that important instrument to destabilize Trump. You can't fault Trump, no. I mean, 1 second. Logic is not squaring.
No, my logic is perfect. Out of the $2.7 billion that USAID
I'm only asking you, Dr. Raman, all these people who receive money, would there be no leverage? Would there be no leverage on them? If you're getting funded by X and Y, there's no leverage?
Of course there is leverage, but it goes back to the US government. It goes back to the... And let me finish. So, look, they have spoken for 20 minutes. I have spoken for less than 2 minutes.
Go ahead, sir.
Let me finish one point. Out of the $2.7 billion that have been donated, that have been spent by USAID in India, 70% has gone in combating tuberculosis.
Sir, look, thank you for telling us that. Tell Trump this. Tell Trump that he's shutting down such an important wing of his government. And don't tell me, I'm not shutting it down. Don't tell Modi, he's not shutting it down. I've run out of time, unfortunately, with the filibustering that has gone on here. Dr. Ranganathan, I'm really sorry. This story's origin is America. It's not India. Modi hasn't shut down USAID in India. He hasn't kicked out USAID. It's Trump doing it. Trump is shutting down an American wing. That's it, because he doesn't think it's contributing effectively to the global good. He thinks it's an arm to destabilize, and he's taking that in the enlightened interest of world peace. Great. We benefit, viewers. We should be thankful for Trump. We leave it at this.